Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Martial Universe Season 6 based on novel. So let's start. The sound of wind parting appeared continuously in the sky. Numerous figures swiftly rushed over from the horizon before appearing at the surroundings of the large island that was suspended in the sky. This island was unusually large and grand, with forest and mountains covering it, giving it the appearance of an ancient land. A desolated aura that was brewed over time was spread from this land, rippling over the sky and giving it an incomparably majestic atmosphere. At a glance, it was impossible to see the edge of the island. The many human figures floating around it seemed as tiny as ants. What a spectacular sight! Lin Dong and Little Flame could not help but exclaim when they saw at this place. Their eyes were filled with amazement. No building on this island had suffered the slightest damage. One was even able to vaguely see the vast martial arts grounds. It was likely that tens of thousands of people would gather at this place back then, creating a noise that could shake the skies. Let's head in. Lin Dong's eyes were fiery hot as he stared at the seemingly endless remains of the four great mysterious sect. At this moment, the most important place had already appeared. They should begin their search for their target, the Samsara pill. Lin Dong was even able to sense the excited emotion of that little fellow within the stone talisman at this moment. Once he obtained this Samsara pill, it would once again be able to obtain a physical body. At the same time, it would possess a chance to truly recover to his peak condition. Lin Dong's finger rubbed across his palm and smiled immediately. His body moved, transforming into a ray of light that shot into this extremely vast island. There were also many anxious figures charging in from the surroundings of the island. Immediately, this island remains, which had remained silent for countless number of years, became noisy at this moment. Bang! However, with an increasing number of human figures rushing into this island, this land seemed to begin trembling. After which, the land cracked. Some of the aura that seemed to have been in a deep slumber also woke at this moment. A roar resounded over the sky as numerous energy that was filled with a shady scent whizzed out. Some unlucky fellows were tore into a pool of blood. This is bad. Be careful. This island actually still have some living demonic beasts. Numerous exclamations immediately spread through the air as everyone looked at this sudden unexpected change. Their expressions changed as they looked at the cold glint of the teeth and claws that shot out from the grounds. Lin Dong and Little Flame were startled for a moment because of this scene, but they were not overly surprised. After all, this was the remains of the four great mysterious sect. It was not surprising if it possessed some usual qualities. Those demonic beasts that had awoken might have a powerful aura, but it was likely that they would have a great difficulty stopping everyone. Of course, they would naturally cause some people to feel troubled, but Lin Dong and Little Flame was not one of them. Little Martin, can you sense the position of the Samsara pill? Most sects, or alliances like this one, will possess their own pill grounds. Although I am unable to sense the position of the Samsara pill, it is likely that this thing is stored at the pill grounds. The construction of the pill grounds would definitely be beside the medicinal grounds, which grows medicinal ingredients. Little Martin appeared. Its eyes was flickering with a boiling hot expression as it swiftly said. The area with the densest medicinal scent on this island is in that direction. Lin Dong looked towards the direction which Little Martin was pointing towards. A smile also surfaced on his face. Without uttering any other nonsense, he and Little Flame directly transformed into a ray of light that shot in that direction. The remains of the four mysterious sects was very large. The forest within it was also filled with towering trees. Various awakened demonic beasts spread across it at a shocking speed. Hence, Lin Dong and Little Flame also encountered quieter attacks when they attempted to pass through it. Although their lives were not threatened, it did reduce their speed. How troublesome. Lin Dong looked at an ancient demonic beast that was once again sent flying by the metal rod in Little Flame's hand. He could not help but shook his head. Currently, an increasing number of people were barging into this island. Moreover, since Lin Dong's group was able to sense the direction of the medicinal grounds, it was likely that the other experts would also be able to sense it. Everyone knew just what the pill grounds represent to this ancient sects. The various unique pills within it were sufficient to cause people to turn crazy. Therefore, there were definitely many experts hurrying over towards the pill grounds from every direction at this moment. If Lin Dong was late and the Samsara pill was obtained by someone else, it was likely that he would have wasted his time. Humph, some ancient demonic beast that had been buried undergrounds through some special techniques also dare to act so mightily in front of Grandpa Martin. It would be appropriate if it was your ancestors. A cold glint flashed in Little Martin's eyes. At this moment, anyone who dared to block it from obtaining the Samsara pill would likely be directly hacked into too by it. Buzz. A purple-black light glow suddenly swept out from Little Martin's body. After which, it transformed into a celestial demon Martin shadow figure behind it. Immediately, a frightening pressure swept over the place. When that celestial demon Martin appeared, Lin Dong could sense that even the body of Little Flame by the side stiffened slightly. However, he quickly recovered to his normal state. Woo! Under this sweeping mighty pressure, those ancient demonic beasts with a chaotic mental state immediately began to quiver. After which, they let out a trembling cry and scattered. All that you can do now is to rely on this. Lin Dong looked at Little Martin, which had revealed a proud face, and involuntarily laughed. The face of Little Martin, who had wanted to proudly say something, turned flush red when it heard this. It immediately responded with an anger caused by embarrassment. What do you know? When this Grandpa Martin regains a physical body, you will come to be aware of Grandpa Martin's ability. Lin Dong laughed heartily. He ceased his teasing. Pressing his toes gently onto the ground, his body suddenly rushed forward once again. With Little Martin chasing away these diminutive demonic beasts, Lin Dong's speed undoubtedly increased tremendously. This continued for over 10 minutes, before that suffocating forest finally disappeared. In front of Lin Dong was a seemingly endless sea of medicinal ingredients. Various different unique medicine were present by the dozens in this place. Rich medicinal fragrance lingered over the air as though it was a real substance. Such extravagance! A shaken expression involuntarily surfaced in Lin Dong's eyes when he saw the sea of medicine. It was likely that even some high-ranked empires did not have the ability to groom a sea of medicine of this size. The size of this Tiangang alliance back then was truly terrifying. In the middle of the sea of medicine is the pill grounds. Little Martin pointed towards the middle of the sea of medicine. One could vaguely see a large pill grounds located at the middle of the permeating medicinal fragrance. Let's go. Lin Dong licked his lips. His somewhat nostalgic eyes withdrew from this sea of medicine. Most of the medicine present were extraordinary, but he did not specialize in this field. Hence, they were of little use even if he obtained them. From the way he saw it, instead of snatching these unique medicine, he should just go for those unique treasures. Hence, Lin Dong's and Little Flame's bodies directly rushed past this sea of medicine and landed at the pill grounds in the middle. The pill grounds was a spacious region. When Lin Dong and Little Flame landed in it, the dust on the grounds had scattered. Clearly, this place had been covered by dust for many years. There were quite a number of large pill rooms within this pill grounds. Lin Dong randomly blasted apart a symbol seal on a door of a pill room. After which, he saw a wave of Nirvana pills surging out from the pill room from every direction. Crimson color filled one's eyes as a shocking Nirvana chi surged to the air. Lin Dong looked at those millions of Nirvana pills, before he involuntarily swallowed a mouthful of saliva. This was merely a small-sized pill room in this pill grounds, yet it already possessed this number of Nirvana pills. He really did not know just what kind of enormous medicinal pill resource this pill grounds possessed. In the face of this amount of Nirvana pills, even Lin Dong's breathing became a little ragged. A redness surfaced in his eyes. After which, he did not say anything before he opened his chinkuan bag. Those Nirvana pills continued pouring into it like floodwaters. Within a short few minutes, nearly 2 million over Nirvana pills rolled into Lin Dong's chinkuan bag. This kind of harvest really left one speechless. Swoosh swoosh. While Lin Dong was storing the Nirvana pills, some rushing wind sound was finally transmitted from the distance. A couple of figures landed in the pill grounds. Their bodies instantly stiffened when they saw the crimson-red pill tide from within the pill room. Their eyes also suddenly became blood red. Oh my God, Nirvana pills. All of them are Nirvana pills. A somewhat crazy roar resounded one after another. Those voices contained a shock and wild joy that could not be hidden. Go. Lin Dong was not overly greedy after glancing at those fellows who were stimulated to the point of going crazy. He knew that Nirvana pills were similarly important to these people, who were also at the Nirvana stage. However, this was not the time to be delayed in this place. Lin Dong's figure rushed out at lightning speed. His eyes were locked onto the deep regions of the pill grounds. The largest pill room was located at that spot. Lin Dong could vaguely sense that a little palpitation within him. The Samsara pill should be located at that spot. Numerous figures swiftly arrived at this enormous pill grounds from every direction. After which, their breathing became a little heavy. Clearly, all of them were shocked by the amount of Nirvana pills in this place. Boom. Numerous eyes contained a crimson color. In the next instant, those pill rooms that stored Nirvana pills were directly and brutally destroyed. A bright red Nirvana pill tide surged forth with a rumbling sound. The shocking Nirvana chi had basically formed a sort of substance-like structure. Everyone violently swallowed a mouthful of saliva as they looked at the wave of pills that had surged out like floodwater from within those pill rooms. They directly began snatch them frantically. It was natural for some huge scuffles to erupt during this kind of snatching. Most of those who had arrived at this place had lost their mind in the face of this frightening amount of Nirvana pills. Nirvana pills were crucial to any Nirvana stage expert. Only by possessing sufficient Nirvana chi would they be able to continuously refine their bodies and yuan power, and reach the point where they could endure the next Nirvana tribulation. The amount of Nirvana chi that one could absorb during one's usual training was only a small amount. Hence, if one wanted to increase one's training speed, these Nirvana pills was something that one must have. Hence, it was not unusual for one to lose some sense of reasoning because of this event. While fighting took place, Lin Dong did not stay behind. His gaze looked towards the deep regions of the pill grounds, and was locked onto a large pill room at the deepest part of the pill grounds. Although Lin Dong also coveted after those Nirvana pills, he knew the importance of other matters. As long as he could obtain the Samsara pill, little Martin would be able to recover its physical body and its strength would soar. At that time, with a genuine expert like little Martin guarding him, the benefits that Lin Dong would gain would definitely far surpass those Nirvana pills which he could snatch. Additionally, just based on the relationship between the two of them, Lin Dong also had sufficient reason to abandon those Nirvana pills. In his eyes, little Martin was clearly more important than even tens of millions of Nirvana pills. This pill ground was extremely large. Even with Lin Dong's speed, he only managed to reach the pill room located at the deepest part of the pill ground, after several minutes. This pill room appeared even more ancient than any other part of the pill ground. Its yellowish main gain vaguely contained some ancient symbols and lines. There was a faint energy fluctuation spreading from it. Lin Dong's eyes contained some joy as he looked at this ancient pill room. He did not say anything as Yuan power whizzed out from within his body. Finally, a punch ruthlessly landed onto the main door. Boom! The ancient large door did not crumble as expected, despite absorbing the full force of Lin Dong's attack. Instead, Lin Dong directly rebounded from it. He took a couple of quick steps on the ground before stabilizing his body. A somewhat dumbfounded expression appeared on his face. This is a kind of protected door. It is impossible to forcefully break it. No matter how powerful your attack is, it will be reflected by the door unless you can completely blast it apart. Little Martin flashed and appeared. It stared at the door for a moment before suddenly speaking. Use the devouring ancestral symbol against it. Its defenses might be strong, but it must have been eroded over many years. It should not be too difficult to get rid of it. Lin Dong knew that he was pressed for time and quickly stepped forward without any hesitation. His hand was pressed gently on the ancient door. After which, a devouring force erupted, eroding the many ancient symbols on the main door an inch at a time. Sizzle sizzle. With the surge of this devouring force, the numerous ancient symbols began to gradually turn faint. A moment later, they completely disappeared. This door suddenly decayed at a shockingly rapid speed when those ancient symbols disappeared. Finally, it emitted a crack sound and crumbled in front of Lin Dong. Bang! With the crumbling of the main door, waves of frightening pill chi from within the pill room behind suddenly erupted like a volcano that had been sealed for millennia. The pill chi was like a real substance, as it shot out from the pill room. Even Lin Dong was forced back by it. After which, the pill chi rose into the air, appearing just like a plume that could be clearly seen within a 50-kilometer radius. Damn it! Lin Dong involuntarily let out a furious curse when he saw the activity created after opening this pill room. With this commotion, it was likely that many experts would hurry over to this place. Go, enter quickly. Lin Dong waved his hand towards Little Flame. After which, he entered that pill room like a rabbit. The light within the pill room did not appear dim, and it was like a gentle warm glow. However, the pill chi that lingered within it caused one's vision to be slightly hindered. However, this kind of hindrance could be easily overcome after getting used to it. Lin Dong raised his eyes and swept over it. Immediately, he involuntarily inhaled a harsh breath of cold air. The size of this pill room was quite large. Numerous large rock pillars stood within it. Moreover, various different colored medicinal pills were suspended over these rock pillars. Waves after waves of shocking pill chi continuously spread from these medicinal pills. Just by basing one's judgment of the pill chi, it was possible to tell that these medicinal pills were extraordinary items. Lin Dong's eyes carried a slightly shaken expression as he swept over the place. A moment later, his eyes suddenly focused on a silver-colored round medicinal pill. His entire person trembled violently. He muttered, "This is the crossing disaster pill." This so-called crossing disaster pill was also known as the crossing tribulation pill. It was basically a precious medicinal pill that every Nirvana stage experts dreamed of. Everyone knew that the Nirvana stage experts were most fearful of the Nirvana tribulation, and many Nirvana stage experts had died because of it. However, this crossing disaster pill could dramatically increase the chances of successfully surviving the Nirvana tribulation. If an ordinary person possessed the crossing disaster pill, they would have a 70% chance of surviving one Nirvana tribulation. Although this might be a slight overestimation, it showed just how powerful this medicinal pill was. Consequently, Lin Dong was actually startled for a moment when he saw this crossing disaster pill, which he had only rumors of, appearing in this place. Lin Dong was similarly afraid of the Nirvana tribulation. He might possess the mysterious stone talisman that protected his body, but each of the Nirvana 9 tribulations would become increasingly terrifying. He had only just endured through the first tribulation. There was no telling whether he would be able to smoothly survive every tribulation in the future. If he possessed this crossing disaster pill, he would undoubtedly be much safer. Lin Dong licked his lips. His eyes could not hide the fiery heat in them. In the next instant, his body directly rushed forward and grabbed at the crossing disaster pill above a rock pillar. He must obtain that item. Lin Dong's body was extremely quick. In a flash, he had already appeared in front of the crossing disaster pill. Powerful yuan power surged out, transforming into a large palm that grabbed towards the crossing disaster pill. Bang! However, just as Lin Dong was about to grab hold of the medicinal pill, the latter suddenly shook. A shocking pill chi surged out. It vaguely seemed to form an illusory figure that blocked Lin Dong's large palm. Huh! The counterattack by the crossing disaster pill caused Lin Dong to be startled. Clearly, he did not expect that even a medicinal pill was actually able to retaliate. However, his dullness clearly only lasted for an instant before he immediately recovered. He emitted a laughter as he curled his palm, and a circular black hole spread out. Kai! That powerful pill chi had just made contact with the black hole when it was completely swallowed. Lin Dong once again extended his hand and finally grabbed this crossing disaster pill within it. A boiling hot temperature spread the moment the medicinal pill fell into Lin Dong's hands. The latter could vaguely sense the enormous strange energy contained within it. Is this the crossing disaster pill? Lin Dong could not resist the curiosity in his heart as he observed this extremely renowned medicinal pill. The medicinal pill was silver in color. Pill lines encircled it, appearing just like the stars. Its luster and other features were all top-notch. If this thing was to be taken out and auctioned, it would at the very least be worth over 3 million Nirvana pills. Moreover, it was a situation where there was demand but no supply. Countless number of Nirvana stage experts would fight over this medicinal pill until they bled. Lin Dong flipped his hand and stored this crossing disaster pill into his Qianquan bag. After which, his eyes looked at the other medicinal pills on the rock pillars with a fiery hot expression. The medicinal pills in this place were all clearly extraordinary. Little Flame, just go ahead and take as many as you can. Lin Dong urged Little Flame. They relied on their fast speed to be the first to arrive at this place. They should quickly act while there was no one competing with them. Little Flame was unceremonious after hearing Lin Dong's words. He directly rushed forward. A black light whizzed out from his palm and swept towards those medicinal pills. The two of them whistled through this pill room. They did not care about what medicinal pill it was as they simply took all that they could. After all, it was not every day that one could find such a place. The two of them might have quite a fast speed, but they were still unable to sweep the entire pill room. Around a few minutes later, Lin Dong had heard some hurried rushing wind sound that were emitted from behind him. Numerous figures entered this pill room with lightning-like speed. Hiss! These people also noticed the many extraordinary, exquisite medicinal pills on the rock pillars after they had appeared. Some of those sharp-eyed individuals immediately inhaled a harsh, but deep breath of cool air. In an instant, they seemed to have sensed blood boiling within their bodies. Have they caught up? Lin Dong also sensed the motion behind him. He immediately narrowed his eyes. At this moment, he had already reached the middle of the pill room. He raised his head and his eyes were focused towards the center spot. There was a black-colored ancient rock pillar located at that spot. A black and white medicinal pill that seemed to be the mixture of yin and yang were quietly suspended over the top of the rock pillar. A vague feeling of life and death spread around it. Samsara pill. Lin Dong's mouth immediately turned dry at this instant. Little Martin's aura from within the stone talisman also contained a sort of uncontrollable ripple. The medicinal pill that was made up of alternating black and white color was quietly suspended above a black-colored rock pillar. In contrast to the other medicinal pills, which were emitting a pungent pill qi, this medicinal pill appeared extremely quiet. In fact, one could not even sense the slightest pill qi from it, and even the pill fragrance was absent. At a glance, it appeared just like a black and white spherical rock. However, based on the seemingly uncontrolled rippling aura that was being emitted from within the stone talisman, Lin Dong could tell that this medicinal pill in front of his eyes should be the thing that little Martin dreamed of. Moreover, it was the thing which Lin Dong's group had found after so much difficulty, the Samsara pill. Phew! Lin Dong's breathing quietly became a little heavier. He looked at the medicinal pill in front of him. Even with his self-control, he still felt his head turning a little dizzy because of it. This was because once they had this item, little Martin would be able to regain its physical body. In fact, it would not be impossible for it to regain its peak strength in the future. Lin Dong inhaled 2 deep breaths as he suppressed his surging heart. Without further ado, his body moved and reached towards the Samsara pill. Swoosh! However, just as Lin Dong was about to make a move, countless sharp winds suddenly rushed over from behind him. Moreover, they aimed right at his fatal spots. It was likely that the one who had attacked was quite vicious. Clang clang. That attack caused Lin Dong's eyes to become chill. Before he could counter, the black-colored metal rod in Little Flame's hand swept over. It directly struck explosively towards the many sharp wind that had pounced over. Swoosh! Many figures had already rushed over from behind Lin Dong during that brief instance. From a short distance behind Lin Dong, their eyes were filled with greed as they stared at the Samsara pill suspended above the black rock pillar. Clearly, they had also recognized this renowned medicinal pill. This thing was rumored to be able to keep one alive regardless of how seriously one was injured, as long as one still had a breath remaining. This was something similar to a protective talisman. By obtaining it, one would be equivalent to possess another life. Why did you guys attack me suddenly? Lin Dong slowly turned around. He looked at the many figures who appeared behind him. These people were clearly from some strong high-ranked empires. Their 2 leaders have all stepped into the 2 Yuan Nirvana stage, and were quite powerful. In fact, they were not inferior to Song Duan and the others whom Lin Dong had met earlier. This friend, since you were the first to reach here, you have already obtained quite a handful of valuable medicinal pills. You should always show a little restraint in your actions. It is not too good to wipe this place clean, is it? That green-clothed man spoke with a faint voice. Lin Dong glanced at him and involuntarily laughed. Although some of the special medicinal pills in this place had been snatched by Lin Dong and Little Flame, quite a number of medicinal pills still remained. It was baseless to say that he had wiped the place clean. What do you all want? We can discuss about it. Since you are the first to reach here, it is only right that you obtain something. However, please give this medicinal pill to us. What do you say? The green-clothed man pointed at the Samsara pill and smilingly said. He was not afraid of angering Lin Dong. There were 4 people on their side, who had reached the strength of a 2 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. The remaining 2 were at the peak of the 1 Yuan Nirvana stage. On the other hand, Lin Dong's group consists of only 1 Yuan Nirvana stage experts. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes. His expression was a little unfriendly. You are Lin Dong who defeated Shikuan, right? It is rumored that you possess the qualification to fight with 2 Yuan Nirvana stage experts. However, let me give you a word of advice, it is best not to be too arrogant. Another 2 Yuan Nirvana stage expert, beside the green-clothed man, sensed Lin Dong's unfriendly expression and laughed coldly. If you have the confidence to fight the both of us alone, you can give it a try. A coldness flashed across Lin Dong's eyes. However, just as he was preparing to send these 2 fellows flying, little Martin's voice suddenly sounded, "Let them." Lin Dong was startled by the sudden words. He immediately frowned, but did not say anything more. Instead, he grabbed Little Flame's shoulders and pulled back a little. "Big brother." Little Flame was also stunned by this action from Lin Dong. There was some uncertainty in his eyes as he looked at Lin Dong. He did not appear to understand Lin Dong's intention. "Ha ha, brother Lin Dong is really a sensible person. I will remember this favor." That green-clothed man involuntarily smiled when he saw Lin Dong step aside. His eyes contained a gloating expression that could not be hidden. Meanwhile, a disdain quietly formed in his heart. This fellow, who had caused a huge uproar, was merely a timid mouse. Shikuan had really lost all his face by being defeated in his hands. The green-clothed man's eyes withdrew from Lin Dong and shifted upwards. A greedy expression flashed across his eyes when he stared at the Samsara pill on the rock pillar above. After which, his body rushed out without the slightest hesitation. An increasing number of experts were hurrying to this pill room. It was likely that these fellows were intending to remove the most precious treasure in the pill room before those people arrived. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed as he looked at the green-clothed man, who had rushed forward. His fists involuntarily tightened slowly under his sleeves. Threads of dense killing intent surged out from deep within his eyes. When Lin Dong was unable to endure any longer, and was about to attack, however, the green-clothed man was already in front of the Samsara pill. After which, he grabbed at the pill with his hand. Sizzle sizzle. An unexpected change suddenly occurred at this moment. That green-clothed man had already quite cautious. His entire hand had turned into a bright golden color when it was extended. Clearly, he had unleashed the Nirvana golden body to the limit. Moreover, surging Yuan power surged out when he activated the golden body. He clearly appeared fully armed. Even though he was fully armed, however, the golden glow dimmed at a shocking pace when the green-clothed man was half a foot away from the Samsara pill. Even his arm began to wither. "Ah!" A sharp screech was emitted from the green-clothed man's mouth. His shriveling hand was spreading at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as though it intended to spread over his entire body. Swore. The face of the green-clothed man, which originally contained a pleased expression, had become distorted because of fear. However, this fellow clearly also seemed to have sensed that he was caught in a trap. He suddenly clenched his teeth, raised his blade and actually directly cut his own arm off. Blood scattered. That green-clothed man flew backwards in a miserable manner. Finally, he violently landed onto the ground. He grabbed his arm and howled miserably. His companion also hurried forward. Lin Dong, who had witnessed all of these, also violently inhaled a breath of cool air. His eyes were shocked as he looked at the Samsara pill that was floating quietly. Clearly, he did not expect that this medicinal pill was actually this peculiar. In merely an instant, it had actually turned the arm of a 2 Yuan Nirvana stage expert into some withered lifeless bones. If the first person who charged forward was Lin Dong, it was likely that he would definitely pay some price even with his many tactics. It is indeed the ring of life and death. Little Martin's solemn voice sounded at this moment. Ring of life and death. Lin Dong was stunned. Clearly, this term was a little foreign to him. This ring of life and death is something that only the experts, who had mysterious life and death realm, can create. When this samsara pill is formed, it would birth the ring of life and death. This thing cannot be seen with one's naked eyes. However, the life of anyone who touch it will immediately disappear, little Martin explained. I was uncertain about whether this samsara pill is protected by the ring of life and death earlier. That is why I did not allow you to be the first to touch it. However, from the looks of it now, it is right to be a little more cautious. Can we undo it? Lin Dong knitted his brows and asked. By putting it in this manner, would it not mean that even he would not be able to obtain it? It is a little troublesome. This life and death chi is not something that you Nirvana stage experts could resist, little Martin voiced his thoughts. Life and death chi. Lin Dong curled his mouth. Suddenly, he recalled the black-eyed old man whom he had met at the Great Wasteland's ancient tablet. The latter seemed to have reached this mysterious stage. What do we do now? Lin Dong glanced at the miserable green-clothed man and asked within his heart. Wait for a while. I also need some time in order to find out how to break this ring of life and death, little Martin replied. After which, it became silent. Clearly, it was thinking of a solution. The green-clothed man by the side was finally able to stop his blood while little Martin was remaining silent. His expression was pale as he stood up. However, his gaze was extremely vicious as it looked towards Lin Dong and roared, "You knew that this would happen, right? That is why you purposefully allowed us to charge right at the front." The companions of the green-clothed man also stared at Lin Dong with vicious eyes. Clearly, their hearts were extremely furious. Lin Dong knitted his brows in the face of this green-clothed man's roar. His eyes also gradually turned icy cold. He turned his head, stared at the four individuals and slowly said, "It's your own fault for being greedy. Get lost. Rat, you are seeking death." The expressions of the four individuals turned into a fury green color when they heard Lin Dong's words. Ha ha, it seems that this place is quite lively. However, just when the green-clothed man and the three others could no longer control themselves, and were about to attack, the sound of wind being parted suddenly sounded. A faint laughter reverberated from a short distance away. Finally, it reached a spot not far from the black-colored rock pillar. His gaze looked at the rotating samsara pill on the top of the rock pillar not far away. A satisfied smile was lifted on his face. This place is indeed worthy of being the pill grounds of the four great mysterious sects. It even possessed such a medicinal pill. Lin Dong's eyes dilated slightly as he looked at the figure which had appeared. His expression immediately became a little solemn. The ripple that was emitted from the latter's body was far stronger than the green-clothed man. Clearly, he was not an ordinary 2-yuan Nirvana stage expert. Have I finally met a troublesome person? Lin Dong curled his lips. He could sense that this person was extraordinary. It seems that he also possessed quite a great reputation within this northwestern region. However, Lin Dong was unaware of who this great being was and where he originated from. This fight for the samsara pill was becoming increasingly lively. The man who had suddenly appeared was wearing a glaring red robe. There seemed to be a faint bloody scent spreading from him, informing others that the person before them was definitely no saint despite the friendly smile on his face. When the green-clothed man and the others by the side saw this smiling red-robed man, their expressions suddenly changed as they cried out in alarm, "Violent Wolf Tianjin! Violent Wolf Tianjin!" Lin Dong's lips tightened a little when he heard this form of address. A grave expression flashed across his eyes. There were four great overlords of this northwestern region. Demon Spear Liu Bai, Mountain Shattering Axe Jiang Shan, Beast Fist Mu Shou and Violent Wolf Tianjin. To think that the one who had appeared was actually one of the 4 overlords of the northwestern region, Violent Wolf Tianjin, who was ranked alongside Liu Bai. Ha ha, so it is actually someone from the Desert North Empire. The red-robed man glanced at the green-clothed man and replied with a friendly smile. However, this smile contained some chilly aura when it landed in the eyes of the green-clothed man and the others. Everyone knew that this Tianjin might appear friendly on the surface, but deep down, he was an extremely brutal and ruthless man. Otherwise, he would not end up with the name Violent Wolf. You must be that Lin Dong, right? It is rumored that even that fellow Liu Bai thinks highly of you. Tianjin merely glanced at the green-clothed man. After which, he turned his eyes towards Lin Dong and smilingly said, I have met him once and it cannot be said that I am held in high regard by him. Lin Dong's voice was calm. He did not appear as terrified as the green-clothed man and the others. This Tianjin's aura was indeed extremely powerful, and it was likely that he possessed the ability to attempt the 3rd Nirvana tribulation. He was many times stronger than an ordinary 2-yuan Nirvana stage expert. However, his level was insufficient for Lin Dong to feel fearful. Tianjin's eyes narrowed in the face of this calm attitude of Lin Dong. His large hand curled. Anyone who knew him understood that he was a little displeased with Lin Dong's attitude. Swoosh swoosh. An increasing number of experts were attracted to this pill room after Tianjin showed himself. Within a short couple of minutes, numerous figures landed one after another and hurried into the pill room. After which, they also gathered towards this middle area where everyone was. That is Samsara pill. Those who had arrived at this place saw the black, white medicinal pill suspended over the stone pillar immediately after they arrived. Soon after, numerous exclamations resounded in a wave-like fashion. Lin Dong's brows were involuntarily knitted together, as he looked at the many greedy eyes that suddenly shot from all around him. Seems like he was unable to obtain the Samsara pill before it caused a commotion. That is Violent Wolf Tianjin. I didn't expect him to be here as well. Those eyes, which had become boiling hot because of the Samsara pill, suddenly turned towards the red-robed man in front of them. Immediately, quite a number of their expressions changed. Clearly, the reputation of this Violent Wolf Tianjin was quite strong. Moreover, all of them also clearly understood Tianjin's character. He was a ruthless person. It was rumored that only some time ago, a 2-yuan Nirvana stage expert was viciously killed by him in an exchange. Hence, there were no one who dared to offend this fiend. I am quite fond of this Samsara pill. I believe that everyone here will help me to fulfill my wish of obtaining it, right? Tianjin ignored the surrounding gazes. He stared at the Samsara pill before immediately speaking with a smile. Although he wore a smile on his face and his tone was an inquiring one, everyone in this pill room was completely silent as they sensed the surging violence under Tianjin's smile. Green and white mixed on the faces of the green-clothed man and the others. Their eyes flickered and immediately spoke in a sinister manner. The first person who arrived is Lin Dong. Although his words did not contain much meaning, it caused Tianjin's smilingly eyes to look towards Lin Dong. He smilingly inquired, Brother Lin Dong will not mind, will you? Lin Dong glanced indifferently at the green-clothed man and the others. Finally, he lowered his eyes and replied, I need this Samsara pill. Anyone who wished to obtain it should rely on their own strength. What a joke. Lin Dong had undergone so much in order to obtain this Samsara pill. Although this Tianjin had a powerful reputation, he had overestimated his so-called reputation, if he thought that was enough to force Lin Dong to back off. The surrounding people were startled at these words of Lin Dong, which did not intend to give in. Immediately, a pitiful expression flashed across their eyes. They had heard about the news of Lin Dong having defeated Shakuan. However, Tianjin was not someone that Shikuan could compare with. This brutal and ruthless fellow had even killed 2 Yuan Nirvana stage experts. A cold smile flashed across the green-clothed man when he saw this. Lin Dong actually dared to rebuke him in front of so many people. With the latter's character, it was likely that he would not forgive Lin Dong. Numerous gazes gathered towards the red-robed figure. The latter's face still wore a smile. However, there was a faint fierceness that flashed across it. I do not like others snatching my things. Tianjin's hands slowly tightened. Immediately, he walked forward and faintly said, "Receive 1 blow from me and I will give you the right to fight with me for the Samsara pill." Lin Dong grinned. This Tianjin had indeed released his domineering aura. However, from the way Lin Dong saw it, this domineering aura was a little foolish. Did he really think that obtaining the title, as one of the 4 great overlord of the northwestern region, was sufficient to allow him to become extremely arrogant in this place? There are countless number of experts in this ancient battlefield, and there were many hidden experts lurking around. It was clearly not his turn to display this arrogance. Just attack. Gutsy. Tianjin parted his mouth and grinned. The dense white teeth that he revealed contained a dense chillness. Clamor. The surrounding people emitted a shuttling sound as they swiftly withdrew after seeing the two facing each other maliciously. However, they felt a tinge of regret when they looked at Lin Dong. Although Tianjin's overbearing arrogance was indeed dislikable, it was based off his strength. The number of people who could beat him in this northwestern region could be counted with one's fingers. Clearly, Lin Dong was not one of them. Tianjin stared at Lin Dong. The smile on his face withdrew a little. Meanwhile, a haughty aura slowly spread apart from within his body. Tianjin at this moment seemed to match with the name Violent Wolf. Boom. Tianjin's feet stomped onto the ground. At this moment, he was just like a woken fierce beast. A blood redness climbed up both of his eyes. In the next instant, his entire body directly transformed into a red glow and rushed out. There was even an afterimage remaining on his original spot. Lin Dong, I have never held back when fighting with anyone, regardless of strength. If you cannot handle this attack, then, die. Tianjin's figure had appeared in the mid-air in front of Lin Dong within an instant. Surging yuan power spat out. After which, it agglomerated on his palm at a shocking speed. Thousand Wolves Army Breaking Fist. A low and deep densely cold cry was emitted from Tianjin's throat. The surging yuan power transformed into tens of thousands of dashing wolf figures. All of them contained a merciless aura, as they ruthlessly encircled Lin Dong. Tianjin's attack was indeed as completely merciless as he had described. This fist was something that even an ordinary 2 Yuan Nirvana stage had difficulty receiving. If Lin Dong's genuine strength was truly reflected on his surface, this fist would mostly likely be able to end his life. The expressions of those surrounding experts changed slightly in the face of this vicious attack from Tianjin. The name Violent Wolf was indeed fitting. It was likely that this fellow had the most fearsome reputation amongst the 4 great overlords. Tens of thousands of wolves dashed forward and was swiftly magnified in Lin Dong's eyes. A serious expression also surged up his face. Yuan power, mental energy and devouring power surged out from within his body. Finally, they were swiftly poured into that ancient universe formation. Bang bang. A merged force that was grayish-black in color spat out from within Lin Dong's body. There was a strange ripple being vaguely emitted at the same time. Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. The merged force swiftly gathered. Within the blink of an eye, it transformed into an ancient large finger. However, it not bright in color. Instead, it was grayish-black. At a glance, it was permeated in mystery. This was the first time that Lin Dong had used this force that was merged from 3 types of energy to mix with the martial arts ever since he gained control of such an energy. This usage did indeed greatly exhaust Lin Dong's yuan power, mental energy, and the devouring power. However, its might was something that did not even need to be mentioned. Bang! The grayish-black enormous finger wrapped around Lin Dong's body. It carried a frightening momentum that could crumble the world as it violently collided with the tens of thousands of wolves without hesitation. The entire pill room trembled intensely at this moment. Those surrounding experts also swiftly pulled back. A shocked expression flashed in the eyes of the green-clothed man's group. In fact, Lin Dong's attack even caused them to feel a sense of danger. It was likely that if they were the ones facing such an attack, they would likely wound up in a miserable state. The wild and violent energy swept apart like a storm in the midair. Some of the stone pillars within the pill room were blasted apart when struck by the energy. 2 figures also shot out from the aftermath of the explosion. Finally, they landed on the ground and took a couple of swift steps back. Only then did they stabilize their bodies. Numerous eyes were shot over almost at that very instant. The clothes of the 2 people who had appeared were somewhat tattered. The yuan power over them fluctuated intensely. From the looks of it, they appeared to have actually ended up in a draw. That Lin Dong, he actually received Tianjin's attack. Some people faced each other. Their eyes were filled with a stunned expression. Clearly, their hearts were quite shaken because of this result. Everyone knew that this Tianjin had never held back regardless of his opponent's strength in any fight. He had only used 1 attack earlier, but the strength of it was sufficient to severely injure a 2-yuan Nirvana stage expert. Nonetheless, it was still blocked by Lin Dong. His genuine strength was truly hidden and deep. The eyes of the green-clothed man's group had shrunk because of this. They looked at Lin Dong's calm face and vaguely understood why the latter was not the least bit courteous to them. Lin Dong's actual fighting strength had already surpassed theirs. There are many powerful people in this ancient battlefield. If one was too arrogant, one would eventually strike a hard metal plate. Lin Dong looked at Tianjin, whose expression was a little dense. His voice was calm. After which, he turned around and directly rushed towards the Samsara pill above. After which, his hand grabbed onto it. Little Martin already had a method to resolve the ring of life and death. This video will end here.